everybody, it's Professor Parish. How are you all? I hope that you have enjoyed your snowed-in weekend. We are starting week 3 already, which is crazy. I feel like we've just started the class and we're already 3 weeks in, or technically 2 weeks in. By the time that I get this video posted, it will be the end of week 2 and the start of week 3. So, if you've had any questions so far, I hope that you've reached out and emailed me. I know I've had some students email, which is great. I don't want you to feel at all like you can't email me. I will say though that it may take me a little while to get back to you. I do work and teach other classes, and especially on the weekend I may not be by my computer 24/7, but I do try to check on it throughout the weekend and throughout the night, every weekday, and at least get back to you as soon as I can. So please bear with me if I don't immediately respond to your email, but I will see it and I will respond to it. So as far as the past week goes and into this new week, what I'm going to try to do is to go over assignments from last week, kind of talk about them a little bit, give some explanations as far as grading and things like that goes, and then move on into the next week and set that up. This class is pretty straightforward. I think once it has a very set pattern of assignments, and so once you get used to that pattern, I think you'll kind of understand where each unit is going. There's not any surprises, is what I am trying to say. So without further ado, I'm going to switch views. You will probably notice that I have a new computer. My computer that I had from 2013 to this January has gone kaput, unfortunately. So I've had to get a new computer. And the good thing is I was on a Mac before, and so a lot of times when I would try to show my classes things, most of my students have PC and I have a PC at work, so it would be hard for me to demonstrate how to use a function on a Mac because it's so different than a PC. But now I have a PC again, so I feel like that will help in my lecture videos because I will be accessing files probably in the same manner that you will, so that will be helpful. But without further ado, I'm going to switch this over and we're going to stay logged in. Alright, so in terms of the class, I am in student mode, so I'm going to go to our coursework. As you can see, the vocabulary, I'm recording this Sunday night, so the vocabulary is due tonight, and then the questions are going to be the next thing that is due. So I'll talk about questions here in a little bit. And as you can see this week, we do have a discussion forum. Have another one of those back up. So be sure, the due dates are posted on here. Be sure that you do your post by Friday, January 25th, and that you respond to at least 2 peers by next Sunday. That's the big thing about the discussion forum. How I grade the discussion forum, just FYI for students, is that your discussion forum, if you answer all of the questions in your initial discussion forum post, if you have proper spelling and grammar, you should get the max number of points on that part of the assignment. And then each of your responses is worth a certain amount of points as well. So if your post is late, if there are spelling and grammar errors, if it's just really, really short and there's not enough substance, that's when I will start to deduct points. So if you saw discussion forum 1, you had maybe a 19 out of 20 or an 18 out of 20, then that was probably something really small, like a grammar error or a spelling or capitalization. Nothing major, but just know that that's probably why you received that grade on the assignment. So before we jump into talking about the questions drop box, I do want to go back and talk from week 1 and the grammar sampler. As you can see, I didn't submit this assignment, so I received a 0. I am not the best student in this class right now. I wanted to pull it up and show you all. For the most part, everyone did fine on the grammar sampler. I did have a few things I wanted to go over, some questions that several students all missed together, so I wanted to just address those. As far as choosing the right apostrophe quotation choice here, children is always an irregular noun, and so it always has an apostrophe S. It's one of those weird weird nouns that doesn't really have, it's not like cat, cats, it's like child and children. It's If we had time, we could go back to Middle English and Old English, and I could show you, if you ever take an advanced grammar class, they'll go all over of how language has changed since medieval times. It's fascinating what we have as a society, as a human race, chose to drop and keep in our language. It's fascinating, but long story short, children is the plural form of that noun. For the most part, everybody did pretty good on these. There have been 2 tornadoes. They frightened me. With this one, I think a lot of people miss this. When you're dealing with contractions, which are 2 words that have been, or conjunctions, not contractions. When you're dealing with these words that have been put together, you have to also look at what they were originally. So like doesn't is does not. And don't is do not. So the stories in this book, a lot of you put doesn't, but if I split that up, then it's like the stories in this book does not interest me, or the stories in this book do not interest me. And that would be do not. So it should have been don't there. But my wife and son enjoy them. Even though it's a plural, you're treating them, that and makes them almost separated. So you have to still keep the singular form here. The nurse or the secretary comes in on Saturday. So because they're separated like they were here, you have to go with comes in on Saturday. Much work needs to be done. One of these sentences, and this is kind of the opposite of number 11, number 13 is, one of these sentences does not make sense, so doesn't. But my classmates were not confused, so weren't. And then the doctor and her husband take a trip to Mexico each year. So those were kind of the ones that a lot of people missed. As far as commas go, whenever you have a piece of dialogue and you end the dialogue, but there's something that comes before the punctuation, you need to put a comma there. So should have had a comma right there after engineering, but before the quotation mark. Should go right there. All right. And then trees, comma, shrubs, comma, and then soon, comma. The reason why you put a comma here is because you have 2 complete sentences that you are connecting. So the new roof will be put on next week and the house will be painted soon. Done. You can end that sentence. The driveway won't be repaired until next month. Done. Full sentence. But because you have connected it with a conjunction, not a contraction. I am confusing those 2 today. Conjunction, conjunction, what's your function? Are your and, but, or. Contractions are your don't and doesn't. And then 19 is correct. 20, there are 2 sets of commas. So you have Beth, my 2-year-old, is very curious, comma, so I have to keep an eye on her. But because my 2-year-old is just something added, you don't need it in the sentence. If I got rid of it, it would just be Beth is very curious. Because this is an added piece of text, I put it between commas. And that's pretty much it. For the most part, everybody did fine on it. I didn't notice anything that was universally a problem. There were just a couple that missed certain questions, and I commented on your assignment which ones those were. So if you've not seen that, you should have gotten an email with me with my feedback. So make sure you're checking your Falcon Mail to see the feedback that I give you on that assignment. But that is pretty much all for the grammar sampler. The vocabulary, everybody has done a great job on that. There were a couple of people that maybe had really, really short definitions, and for this first week, that was okay. But just keep in mind that in the future, a lot of these terms are not going to be just one-word definitions. You are going to have to expand on that, and so just keep that in mind. And then, finally, we're going here to our questions drop box. We are still on Kate Chopin's The Kiss, and the questions guideline is right here that you can download. I'm still getting Word on my computer, so I've got kind of the trial version right now. But as you can see, there is where the story is located in our textbook. The 10 short questions are listed on page 32. You can type your answer in here. There are 2 comprehension essay questions, and by essay questions, I don't mean you have to type out an essay. They are just longer short answers, if that makes sense. they're going to be a couple of sentences to maybe a paragraph each. So just keep that in mind. There are 2 discussion questions on page 33. Also on page 33, you will notice a section that is labeled writing. There is more than one question in that section. I want you to pick one of those questions to answer there. You don't have to answer the other ones. Just pick one and answer it in the writing section. Now, the comprehension and discussion questions, there are 2 apiece in those, so you are answering all of those. But the writing portion only has 1 question, and I will let you pick which one you choose for that. So that's the question section. I feel like the vocab and question assignments are fairly easy. So far, everyone has done really well in the article review. Those of you that have turned it in, kudos. You've done exactly what I wanted, so yay raw. It's a lot less complicated than it sounds. At first, a lot of students are like, oh, this article review sounds really hard. And then once you do one, you're like, oh, this isn't that bad. I'm just picking out parts of an article and labeling them. Exactly. But being able to identify those parts and labeling them is something that will come in handy in English 121 and in English 122. So I like that assignment. I think it's pretty critical that you are able to identify those parts because you will have to do that in the future. So that is the question section. As far as what else is due in week 3, if you go to coursework, which I would highly recommend doing over weekly assignments, like I said, I like coursework set up a lot better. Week 3, you do have the discussion forum. You do have the question section. If I go to resources, a couple of things in week 3. If I go to the bookmarks, there are 2 videos this week. One is about supporting details and patterns in reading. And the idea behind this video is showing you how you can organize your thoughts into paragraph form. So if that's something that you struggle with, that you're like, I don't know exactly how to get all my stuff focused and developed into a paragraph, this video, it's fairly short, will show you how to do that. So if I click on it, it will open up YouTube for me. Yeah, so it's a pretty good video. The other one that I really like is I've had in the past students saying that they wish they had an audio version of a story. Turns out a lot of the stories in our textbook have audio versions of them, which is awesome. So this link here is to The Kiss. It is an audio version. I'm torn on audio because I feel like when I read a story, I have a distinct voice in mind that's reading it. And so when someone else reads it, I'm like, I don't know. I think the only audiobook I've really been happy with was Ready Player One, which is read by Will Wheaton, which if you watch The Big Bang Theory is kind of like, oh, Will Wheaton's a nerd, so he's reading Ready Player One. And I actually like that audiobook. I would read it when I was driving to work. Every morning I'd read, like, it basically ended up being like a chapter a morning. So I really enjoyed that. But it's up to you. I've got it on here as an assignment. It is up to you whether or not you want to listen to the audio version of The Kiss. There's pros and cons. On the pros, it may help you to identify and comprehend the story better. It may also give you a clear implication as to the tone and way that the author wanted the story written and read. But on the other hand, if the reader or narrator's voice isn't what you had in mind, it can kind of deteriorate the effect the story has. So again, it is optional whether or not you want to watch the Kiss audio read. You might listen to a little bit of it and be like, nah, not for me. But some students may end up liking it. So I've put it on here, and that is that. So just be sure to check out your resources and coursework and discussion forum. These 3 links here are pretty crucial this week. As always, you can ask me questions and email me if you have anything that you want to ask about. I am here to answer your questions. And so, let me just in here. So that's pretty much it. I hope that you've not been snowed in and that everything has been going good with the other classes. As always, if you have questions, please email me. The college is closed tomorrow because of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. So just let me know if you need anything or have any questions. All right? Have a great week 3, and I look forward to talking to you all very soon. All right, see you all later.